Great. So you see where the journey goes, also from outside. You might have recognized that Ulrike talked a little bit about CO2 footprint and how you can compensate for that. That will be a topic for sure. And you might have noticed it also in the company diagnosis tool. But today, let's dive one step further. Let's dive one step further into your operations. We will now focus on the product level. We have provided you with the overall company diagnosis tool to prioritize. This course, this workshop is mainly targeted at smaller companies, as we call SMEs, and often you're overwhelmed with many things. So it's very important to focus on the right things. So that's why we ask you to dive into this company diagnosis with us to really get a feeling. What are the 5-6 areas why you want to make a difference and where you can make a difference? If you are at the bay where coral reef bleaching is a topic, you might want to involve there. And if you're running special excursions, like with dolphins, you might run into biodiversity issues. So it's depending on you, on your choice. And some of the aspects are compulsory if you want to dive into sustainability aspects. And the compulsory elements are the ones we highlighted in the diagnosis tool. They talk about energy, water, wastewater, and waste. These are compulsory, but the rest are often very much in line with where you want to go. So I'm coming back to that presentation of last time where I said, okay, now when we dive into the product, we have 2 areas where we would love to focus on with you. One is if you're running certain things and it's keeping running again in the near future, it's one aspect to focus on the operations. So what can you improve on the things you have already in operation? If you have a certain set of excursions that you always offer, let's work with them. And the other lens on my glasses is on new experiences. You have seen the Wise Dodo experience that Motoko was creating, and we presented it to you last time. That was an outcome of the work with a product, but it was one outcome that was totally in line with sustainability. So it was a lighthouse. It was a new experience that is offered. So we want to motivate you today and inspire you today to think about both lines, optimizing the things you have, and secondly, focus maybe some inspirational innovation today to focus on new aspects. Okay, let's have a look at the logic again, how we did it. The vision is on your prioritized sustainability targets. So if you, for example, focus on 5-6 areas like energy and then biodiversity, based on that, this is where your vision hits, where your vision is going. If you want to preserve biodiversity, you become sustainability, that is at the core of your excursions, perfect. Go for that as a focus area, okay? The second thing then is if you have the general, I always say, North Star, that you want to go there on this direction on sustainability, and you focus on this 5 to 6 aspects in your company, in your organization, then the next question is, how do we go into the product level now? So for a DMC, which is now described here, you have transportation issues, you have hotel co-creation aspects. So for example, the Wise Dodo project was co-created with Beachcomber as a hotel chain. So you have excursions, you have marketing, communication, office operations. So you have different aspects there, okay, to dive into, to see how do these aspects that you prioritize apply in your day-to-day operations. And that's what we dive in with you today, okay? On the next chart, we see basically one outcome, I think. First of all, again, we have this potential check. So you see that the handprint, the footprint that we focused on. And on the next chart, I think I made you a small quick view into the outcome of that. If you go one step further. Exactly. You can't see that right now, okay? But this is a company diagnosis tool. What you can see here is only on the right side. If you have done that with us, you might see that some areas are green. That's where you are fine or you cannot do things a lot, but some areas are yellow and red. For example, here, I don't mention the exact case, but we had a discussion about, okay, we have buses around, we should do something about the fuels and so on. So why not measuring on a monthly basis the fuel and systematically measure? That was one outcome of that potential diagnosis check. The other was, for example, how we can do something about biodiversity by informing our customers on our website, by informing them in our brochures. So that was another topic that came out of that diagnosis tool. Or a third was, oh, I'm living in a community. I have an office in a community, but I don't have really good relationships to the community. Can I collect some money from the excursions and donate it to some of the community development? So that was another aspect that came out of that discussion. So basically here you're diving with us into all your operations, your views, and you dive down into the 5-6 ones for a small, medium-sized company that you would love to actually improve. And these are mostly only 5 to 6 aspects that you focus on the first steps, okay? So from here, we then go into the next. That is actually what we would love to tell you today. I'm going through the presentation slides now and show you the Excel in a minute, how it really works. What you're seeing here, if you are a DMC, like for example, the DMC I described right now in the picture before, rate or look at your top selling products, your top selling excursions. Sometimes it's a group package that you're offering. Sometimes it's a single excursion that is really a best-selling product. For example, often a catamaran cruise that many of your DMCs are offering on Mauritius is one of your top selling products. So if you're a bigger DMC, list your top 10 selling products here on the left side. Best-selling excursion, small description. And now you see all the impact categories that we already described to you in the MauPHI impact criteria and in the company diagnosis tool. And now give them a rating on each of those top selling excursions. Below there, you will find the color codes for that. A 3 is really, wow. It's really an attractive product. It's having a good performance. It has a good quality. It has a lot of positive impacts because it works with the community. I'm doing a bike tour in the community, and actually many people in the community participate from that excursions. I have no negative impact because I only have a bike, or I have bus with 20 people inside. So it's a really low negative impact maybe. Or is it a critical impact? Last week or last workshop, we were discussing the dolphin excursion, which is quite famous. But at the same time, it's quite a risky thing because if many, many boats are around the dolphins, we might disturb them and finally they might go away. So it might be a risky negative impact in the long run. So you might rate it differently, okay? So go through that ratings, it gives you a feeling how your different products, in this case, the excursions, perform on the different impact categories that you prioritize. And again, if you, for example, not prioritize community overload, which is on the right side, don't do it here on the ratings. If you don't interact a lot with biodiversity because you're just on the in a room, which I don't think you are, but then don't focus on that. If you're fine with employment and you're a small group with 10, 11 people and you're running good operations in the future, it might not be your focus. But basically, the recommendation is focus on the ones that you prioritize in your first diagnosis on the company level. If you want to look at the other ones here as well, go ahead. And on the next slide, there's a short description, which is also in the Excel file that we share with you. So select your best-selling products as DMC. Focus on your prioritized aspects and the mandatory impacts. Remember, energy, water, waste. Then go for the ratings. Examine those ones and then have a look. If you have one excursion, this is what we, for example, in Morocco realized. We had one excursion that had nearly always green. So this was the one that was a that build the fundament for wise dodo. So if you have excursions that are nearly always green, this might be a lighthouse. This might be something you have recognized with Ulrike that many customers are looking in this direction. This might be a lighthouse that you want to highlight actually in your portfolio as a very sustainable excursion. Okay. Second, the ones where you feel like maybe it's always an issue. For example, pollution. You use a lot of plastic in all your excursions. You might want to say, okay, half of my excursion should be plastic free in the future. And this could be a standard for all. If you want to work with farmers, for example, restaurants that use biological fruits and products, and you want to have it as a standard for all your excursions, then work with that excursion. So this is like overall thinking. And the last is there is one excursion that is really nearly red in all the areas on your ratings. Think twice. If you want to go into the direction of sustainability, you might want to avoid that risk that people say to you, okay, you want to be sustainable and you're offering me this. How could this align? So this could be greenwashing, okay? These are the different levels you maybe want to talk about. If we now move to the hotels, it's a little bit different because hotels don't often have excursions, mostly not. So here, what we recommend you is for your hotel is to look at your customer touch points. You see on the left side here, pre-arrival, booking channel, travel to hotel, check-in, the rooms, food and beverage, activities in the hotel, travel from the hotel, contact after the hotel. So you might want to rate that different customer touch point, that different operations on how you actually want to include sustainability here. Okay, the same logic again on the codings below there. You go one by one and you rate it. And the process, it's the next slide, is a little bit different. It's the same logic, the first 3 steps. It's only one here. Strange, but you can always do always one. So the same logic, do the rating, but then examine which is the one that you are performing best. For example, often it's food and beverage where you have local food, you can do something about sustainability. There you have very strong customer touch points. You can utilize it very good. You can think about how can we even promote that. And for example, for the other ones where you see that you can evaluate the single impact categories and see, okay, which one is the one where we perform low on, to see really how can we improve that. And the last one is the same logic as before for the excursion. If there is one aspect where you perform really bad, you might really think about what can we do about that. Okay, so these are the 2 tools that we want to present you today. And then we can dive into that. Give you one example here. If you, for example, identified the catamaran cruise with a high improvement potential and the poor sustainability performance, you might dive into something which looks like that, which is the last slide I'm showing today for you. Luis, if you go one step further, you might want to dive into this kind of evaluation where you see all the different impacts on the left side, and you see, for example, what is the improvement potential. So what is the highlight, for example, on product attractiveness? It's a very popular product, but what about an eco catamaran that we can use? How is the customer awareness? Can we do something with the customer awareness? So here you can dive into, and we're sharing this presentation with you, what could be improvement potential for those that you really want to change. Okay, you get all that, and your homework, if you want, you're invited to do that, and we are again offering some coachings here, is to dive with us in your best-selling products. So if you feel like, hey, dear project team, I would love to discuss it with you. Again, like last time, enter your mail address or into the chat or write us a small note. We're happy. We are offering again 5 coachings in the next week to dive with you onto the product level. I would invite some of the DMCs that did it with me last week to do it again, to dive into that. So we are offering you a one-to-one coaching if you feel like, let's do something individually, because we can only touch the surface here. Okay. So the last thing, Luis, I'm asking you, do I have a second to go into the Excel file? Or I think we go on with that, because you can play with the Excel file.
Maybe we can go on.
Good, good. Because I'm feeling that look on the clock, and we are already quite late on that. So you get the Excel file and play with the Excel file. It's quite self-explanatory. So that would be your choice then to work with it. So one step further, I'm very excited now to give the floor to Nicola and Shireen, because maybe one step back, Luis, because I really want to highlight of the 11 impact criteria. One aspect that we see is very, very valuable for you is really if you dive into working with a local handicraft sector, you can increase product innovativeness, tourism assessment, preservation, authentic experience. Many of that aspects where you have impacts, you can actually improve that impact and have positive contributions by working with a handicraft sector. And as there was a parallel workshop with a handicraft sector where this project empowered the handicraft sector, we thought it's the best opportunity today to dive into that together with Nicola and Shireen. So Nicola, Shireen, it's your floor to invite people to work with the handicraft sector, which I believe would be a fantastic opportunity.